This is Topic 7, Lesson 3, Number Sense, Decimal Division. Today we're going to talk about how can we use the size of the divisor and the dividend to determine where to place the decimal in the quotient. So what we're going to use is we're going to use some basic, what we know about numbers to figure out where to put the decimal in a decimal division problem. And I just want to give a little background, and just want to go back over what regular division is, whole number division. So if we have 6 divided by 3 equals 2, I could represent that with my star pictures here. And I have 6 of something. I'm going to divide them into groups of 3. This is 6 wholes divided into 3 groups that are 3. And I would have 2 groups, right? So because that's what division is. Division is you have a certain number of something. You're dividing into equal groups of a certain amount. And this is how many of those groups you're going to have. So this is one of those things that's going to help us a little bit. Some of these problems will deal with this issue and some of them won't. But just to give you one thing that happens is dividing a decimal dividend greater than 1 by a divisor less than 1 gives a quotient greater than the dividend. Okay, so let's take that and pull it apart a little bit. It says dividing a decimal dividend greater than 1, so there's my dividend that's greater than 1, by a divisor less than 1, there's my divisor less than 1, gives a quotient greater than the dividend. So my answer to this, my quotient, is going to be larger than 4. And so let me show you how that's going to look in pictures. I've got 4 wholes, right? And what I've done with my 4 wholes is I've divided them in halves, because 0.5 is like a half. So I'm going to see how many halves do I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would have 8 halves. So 4 divided into groups of a half would be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So notice I have a dividend that's greater than 1. I have a divisor less than 1. My quotient is greater than the dividend. Where if we go back to our whole number, we'll notice that the quotient was less than the dividend. Because we normally think of dividing as things getting smaller. But when we start getting decimal in fraction divisors, they're going to start getting bigger. So that's something to look forward to. Okay, so here's another example. So we have 7 and 6800ths divided by 1/2 equals 5 and 1200ths. So I'm going to round this to show this in pictures. So we've got 5, 1, 2. Those are the digits of our number. We got to figure out what this lesson wants us to do is figure out using number sense without actually doing this problem out. Where do I put the decimals? The 512, 51 and 2/10, 5 and 1200ths, or 512 thousandths, or something even smaller. So, in some of the times they're going to have to do this. The divisor is going to be less than 1, like in the problem we had just a second ago. But sometimes they're going to be greater than 1. So this is what I want you to do. Is I kind of want you to think about it in terms of creating those groups. So what I've done is I've taken my 7 6800ths and I'm going to round that to 8. And I'm going to leave my 1/2 as 1/2. Notice what happens when I start creating groups. I've got 8 wholes, and I'm going to group them into groups of 1.5 or 1.5. So here's 1 group. Here's 2 groups. Here's 3 groups. Here's 4 groups. There's 5 groups. And then I have some left over. I've not a full group. So this is 5 whole groups and a little bit left over. Which one of these is going to be, so where am I going to put my decimal point? Here, 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 or here? Right? 5 and 12 thousandths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then some left over. Now I came up with 5.5, but that's an estimate because I made this number bigger. So that's another way you can look at this, is you can look at this either depending upon what your divisor is. If your divisor is greater than 5, round and draw some pictures. That can help you. Or you could just round, and the other way you could look at this is the 7 and 6800ths divided by 1.5 equals, we could round these numbers, right? You could just divide as a whole number. 7 and 6800ths would round to 8. 1 and 5/10 would round to 2. And we all know 8 divided by 2 is 4. And that would tell us where to put the decimal place. It would tell us to put it right there. Because our next problem, my you try it, you'll notice we're not drawing pictures of it. It's 256 divided by 2 and 5/10. Where am I going to put that decimal place? Here, 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 or even smaller. Okay, I want you to try this. Okay, so I'm going to use some rounding and compatible numbers to figure this out. That's my way of doing this. And I'm going to take my 22 and 5/10. I'm going to round it to 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these first two digits. What is compatible with 25 that's close, what's compatible with 3 that's close to 25? I'm going to round that 25 to 24. So I'm going to round that 256 to 240. And that would mean 24 divided by 3 is 8. 100, 80. So where am I going to put that decimal place? Here, 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 or here? It would make sense that it would be 102 and 6/10. That's my closest to 80. So using some number sense to figure that out. So that's the kind of problems they're going to ask you to do. They're going to make this, sometimes the number, the divisor is going to be less than 1, and you're going to go back and use that rule that if this is less than 1, then the quotient's got to be greater than the dividend. Or sometimes the divisor is going to be greater than 1, and you can start to use some compatible numbers and some estimating to figure it out. Or you could draw pictures depending upon the number of, how big it is. If it's 256, that's going to be a little tough to draw pictures of. But, with my 7s and 8s and that kind of stuff, that kind of helps a lot. So I hope this helped, and thank you, and see you in the morning.